I'm outside.
Yeah, there's like God rays coming out of the sky and shining down on you. They're all kinds of colors. So, what's your name?
Sherilyn Sunflower.
Carolyn Sunflower. That sounds like a hippie name.
It does, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I like it. It's very happy.
Yep. It's good. It needed we needed happiness, so it's good. It worked.
I'm in favor of that. So, you're interested in Bosque Village,
Yes.
and you sent a note, an application.
A couple notes.
Yeah, and thank you. I think we have some interests in common. I think that you might like it here. Um, you watched a bunch of videos. That's great. So you seem fairly educated about what the project is. And if you have questions or we should talk about anything, that'd be awesome. I would also love to talk about whatever, you have a bunch of specific interests, like basketry is one. Basketry is something we do here a little bit, but we have a lot of plants that could become baskets that aren't baskets now. And so you've been to Oregon Country Fair and sold them there. You've you're, as far as I'm concerned, a basketry expert. You sew stuff, and
I I
you
would
sew.
not call myself a basketry expert, but a lot of people do. So,
Well,
whoa.
if you're better than me, you're an expert, and if you're worse than me, you're an idiot. So, in this case, you're an expert. So,
Okay,
uh,
great.
sewing is another thing you do. You sew pillows, meditation pillows, and what are these
Yeah, just
wax
earlier
cloth?
today, showing. Oh, teenagers showing. And a really cool swing thing. Super fun. House sitting, Sherilyn's house sitting.
Cool. And then you're also doing these wax paper things that reduce packaging waste or something.
Yeah, and actually, just today I've made bags. So it's a plastic wrap alternative. And these bags are about the same size as the plastic grocery bag, and they'll get waxed. It'll be just like one of the plastic bags. And they're reusable for like a year. So veggies and all that stuff. Yes.
Very cool.
Save.
And what's the name of those?
I call them Gaia Wraps.
Gaia
You can,
Wraps. Okay.
yeah, it's
And
kind
are
of
we talking about cloth treated with beeswax or something?
it's 100% cotton treated with beeswax, coconut oil, and some pine resin that I added.
If I buy one of these, how long can I use it for?
About a year,
Okay.
depending, reasonable regular use.
Okay. So it's kind of a natural material thing that I can keep sort of clean and move things around in.
You can keep sort of clean or really clean if you choose to, and they can be used for anywhere from folding them origami style into plastic bags, like for sandwich bags or snack bags, or
What?
covering anything, like whatever. I have a lot of antique jars that don't have lids, so I put Gaia Wraps on them.
Cool.
Keep nuts and stuff in them. Yeah.
Great.
And there will be videos to come. And there's
We're-
lots of online bees wraps. If you Google bees wraps, there's people already doing videos and craziness about it.
I, I
I'm
had
more,
just I had just heard about these wraps just prior to you saying you were interested in these wraps. So I'm now interested in these wraps too. I'm interested in having less plastic in the world, more natural packaging. It's not my biggest priority day to day, but it's in there. So
well, but you have all this stuff too, right? You have pine resin and you have access to beeswax, and cotton is not too difficult to access. So
right,
it would be great
right.
local. Yeah.
Of those all can be sourced like super locally, like right here, except that I can't grow cotton. But yeah, cotton's cheap and natural, so whatever.
Yeah. Or other like these bags I'm doing out of muslin. So I'm trying different materials too.
I forgot what
Um,
muslin's made of.
well, it's a cotton as well, but it could be linen, or it could be you could do a hemp, right?
Linen's made of flax, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll be very interested when you're here in natural fibers. I'm interested in big stuff, small stuff, all stuff. I'm interested in what's already going on so that you learn about what people do here, and that gets added to your own knowledge. And I'm also interested in making baskets out of anything else we can, of any kind. Um, and the baskets I'm more interested in than the Gaia wrap, actually. I'm interested in both. But the baskets, I mean, I'm thinking big scale too. Like I have oak trees that we could weave the branches into other oak trees to make a structure. We could even top the oak tree way up, and then more energy would go into those side branches. And so I want you to imagine a basket that's 3 meters
Oh,
across,
I can
4 meters
imagine it.
across.
I question the oak.
Why?
Um, well, the saplings are malleable enough when you're saplings of an oak tree. I don't know. You must have different oaks than we have around here.
Not necessarily. If your concern is whether the oak is malleable, the
Uh
whole
huh.
point is to see the far future of the
Right,
oak.
right, right, right. Like a decade.
And
Yeah.
um, that's short term for me, but yes. I want to take those branches and move them with string, with biodegradable string, sculpting them into huge shapes in
Hmm.
general. We could talk about baskets, that's fine. But the point is that any branch that exists can become a living thing that is slightly more compatible to human use. That's the most
Hmm.
general way I can put it. Now, along with that, you might wonder about things like growing a chair. What if
Hmm.
we make just a flat oak branch that someone can sit on? Well, that's a living oak bench that will
Yeah.
last for the next 300 years with no
Right.
additional cost, no metal, no rotting wood, no nail.
Yeah.
And so
Just
the
upkeep.
idea that you can actually sculpt an oak, it should be considered revolutionary, at least it is to me. I have a whole, there's like right over there, there's like 70 oak trees that are all
Uh-huh.
adolescents.
Ready
And
to be
what are
played with.
adolescents? They're
Right.
moldable into power.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, it's like having a lower story, right, that ends up growing together
Hmm.
and then ends up weaving, right? So you've got to get your math right to begin with. I've done it with willow on a smaller scale a lot, right? And a lot of live willow fences, right, where you have a singular and then the
Sweet.
two, and you can get an entire wall of a living like fence. And I've done thrones where you plant and they cross, and then I've had them do like a back and then also like an arch over the top, like an arbor, so it's like a living arbor that you're sitting in. Yeah,
Okay,
I mean
so
it's endless. You can do all
you
kinds of living stuff. It does need upkeep,
oh, it
and
needs
pruning
tons.
a lot.
So it sounds like you might even have more experience than me at this.
Yeah, and that's part of, like, for me, that's my favorite. I speak a lot in animal archetypes, and otter is a prominent animal for me, and that is some of my favorite forms of play, to create in that way with living stuff.
Have you heard of the
Yeah.
book How to Sculpt a Chair? No, How to Grow a Chair. How to Grow a Chair.
Is that the one where the guy grafts it and then he cuts it?
There,
Yeah,
there's quite a bit of
I,
that in that book. He also has another book, and I should get the other book because if I'm doing this stuff, I should probably learn from someone who did it before.
oh
And also,
yeah.
I would like to talk to you about any project you had exposure to with tree sculpting. I should learn from it.
Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. There's no sense in
I will, I will reinvent the wheel,
it.
but I'm going to study the wheel first.
Hmm.
Yeah, no question. And so tree sculpting, I mean, I have 83 acres of trees.
I know, this is why yeah,
And so a
yeah,
guy like me, if I'm insane enough and I do some tree sculpting, 300 years from now, there's still going to be people walking around this amazing place with
right,
magic trees. And, and,
yes,
and that's way out. That assumes somebody
yeah,
thought it was awesome and continued it. But
yeah,
yeah, 10 years out, 20 years out, 50 years out, a magic forest is the way to go. I mean, if you want
right,
people to love forest, let's make them be magical and let's sculpt the trees.
yeah, yeah.
Yar.
Well, and when I say 10 years, I'm used to working with things like willow or ivy or vines that are
Yeah.
very fast. And in 10 years, you can see a golden willow, like European basket willow, that gets about this big.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm
Because
not
that,
against those things at all. That's a great thing to do too.
right,
We should do fast experiments, slow experiments, all the
right.
experiments. In fact, I just saw a willow tree over in the local town, and I, for some reason, thought I couldn't grow willows here because the lake is way down there, and that's where I've only seen them. But this was
Hmm.
a really big willow tree. So I just changed my mind about willows today, that I can grow willows here.
I would think because of the type of forest you're seeding, right? That I mean, my experience with willow when I plant, and I'm only planting the European because it doesn't. I mean, there's so much native willow here. I don't need to plant that.
No.
And the first year it needs water, right? And then after that it doesn't. I mean, we have pretty dry summers here in the Willamette Valley. I'm in Corvallis, the
Well, yeah, you're in
Corvallis area.
Willamette Valley. I'm not. So.
Right, right. So, I went down on the eastern side of the mountains in California and harvested willow all along from the highest altitudes down all the way to the lowest. Different kinds of willow. It grows everywhere, and there's thousands and
Okay,
thousands of
so
varieties.
it's a flexible tree. It's a flexible
Right,
tree in more ways than one.
right. You just have to find the right one for your climate, right?
Great.
The higher altitude,
Well, I
you know.
will have willow very soon then.
Yeah.
So, other basket ideas. What else do you got? If you were to go crazy creative with what is the craziest thing you could do with baskets? The
Well,
best thing.
I think one thing that, especially with the off-grid situation and kind of more primitive skills and rustic piece, that I haven't done previously. I pretty much do willow. I add in fruit trees, whatever's, when if I'm doing winter basket making, I'll harvest what's available, right? And add color and texture and stuff like that. But there's a woman locally in the Corvallis area that teaches actually local natives how to make the cedar root baskets,
Hmm.
right? And they're waterproof in that you can, to hold if you soak it, and then you can do a hot water boil with it. I guess I don't really understand, but that's something that really intrigues me. And I noticed you had showed that there's cedar where you're at.
Right. Here's the deal.
That is
So I'm going to respond to that in a couple of ways here. Uh, I do have cedar. It is easy to grow. I've only recently started planting it. My neighbors grow cedar, and so I took some seeds from them, borrowed them, and planted them. And now I got a little bit of cedar. Now, it's a great wood for making fences, hedges, lots of stuff. Now, theoretically, you can make cedar boxes with the bark. This is
mm-hmm.
indigenous people have done this. But what you're telling me is that there's a basket made of cedar roots.
Right. And so those trees wouldn't work. I think it's there's multiple types of cedar, and so I would need to figure out what kind that is. And I clearly it's local here. I don't know what's local there that would be comparable, but you're harvesting the roots, and it's like the rootlets of the mature roots, and there's
Mhm.
a way to do it so you don't harm the tree. So it's you're harvesting underground or just under the surface of the ground.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
don't
very, very interesting to me. And I have some ideas
yeah.
around that that are going to surprise you and anyone listening to this who's tried to do things like this. First of all, what you're telling me is cedar roots. And so, on a basic level, I reject the idea because it sounds like a pain in the ass that kills the tree. Okay.
It does
But,
it the way they do it.
yeah, but of course, uh,
Hmm.
we should think further. So I don't know what you're telling me about how it doesn't kill the tree. It sounds like work. I'm gonna have to dig something. I do have one idea that might be really exciting. And
Uh-huh.
so rather than even listen to your explanation of how they harvest it, which I'm sure is interesting and we can put in the
Oh,
notes
I don't
later.
know. I
Oh,
haven't
okay.
gotten
Well,
that
in
far
that
yet.
case, you can't tell me.
Yeah.
But I have a great idea potentially. I suggest putting the cedars next to a water um, thing that's like a pond kind of. And I
Yeah.
mention this
A water
because
cake.
one time I had a plant that grew its roots into one of my cisterns. And
Yes.
when I noticed, I don't know if you saw the video on this, but I reached in there and I pulled the roots out. and it was this huge mass of extremely clean roots that had whatever properties that plant has.
Interesting.
Now, I don't recall what plant that was because I went in with my
Right.
machete and cut the hell out of it to keep it out of my cistern. And I don't
Sure.
care. The point is that if we think that roots of a plant have some special property, and it better be very special to make it worth doing anything extra, because I'm extremely lazy about harvesting shit and doing work and stuff. I got plenty of work. So the point is, though, is that there is this cool idea potentially of these
Because
roots
you're
growing.
alone,
What?
right? There's
What?
a person that does those things, and that's their job, right?
You
Yeah.
mean collecting something?
Yeah, in a community, it's the person that's collecting the stuff to make the medicine or whatever it is. Like elecampane is a root. That's a medicine I wouldn't want to give up in the winter. It's a little
Well,
bit of work,
I'm
but
not. I'm not against anything like it, but
right.
I'm looking for the solutions that make it easy.
Yes.
So what I'm
Okay.
hearing is two things only: waterproof cedar root basket. Sounds
Mhm.
cool. Sounds like a
Mhm.
bunch of work. And so I'm
Mhm.
just exploring a thought on maybe how to collect roots in a way that causes less work. I mean, you can even
Right.
imagine an artificial pond, right? That
Yeah.
if the roots of something were really cool, they
Uh
could
huh.
have planters essentially on the sides where the roots come
Right.
into the water
Yeah.
and you actually harvest. I mean, I don't know. I'm just making all this up.
No, it sounds brilliant.
It,
I think it's worth a try.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Because I mean, if it already, and this is the thing is, it already happened accidentally.
Right. And you have the plants in pots right now until they, do the next step fairly easily. Yeah. Go
Yeah,
for
and if it
that.
doesn't work out for 90% of those kind of experiments, fine. The,
Right.
the 10% are what's important.
And the trees will like the water anyway, so
Yeah.
why not?
Anyway, so let's see. What else we got on baskets? We're doing cedar root, waterproof baskets. We'll leave that one there.
I think
We talked about big
construction,
baskets. We haven't talked about that.
architecture. No, I think architecture's that's a good topic to
Right. Sculpting
do.
trees as whole buildings in various
Right.
forms
Yes.
um,
Yes. And
could
you
be
can do
done.
whatever in between, like do wattle and daub or whatever in between, but that the base that there is this living part of it,
I
right?
don't know if you saw online, but there's some people in somewhere in Southeast Asia that make bridges made of living trees.
Yes.
Those are
I
cool.
I've seen it in a book, not Asian.
Uh,
Um,
it's
I
it's
don't know if this is the same thing.
it's probably been done more than in one place because it's such an obvious
Right.
thing. I have one tree that fell over the barranca, the ravine, and it stayed alive. And it's not a good bridge because it's just one tree, but you can easily imagine sculpting trees across gullies and just making living walkways. So many people have done it.
Uh, so we tried to do that with some willow at the farm that I
Hmm.
did my organic apprenticeship at, and it's where I started making willow baskets. So I've been part of it's been part of my life for 20 years. And a few years ago, thank you. A few years ago, uh, we tried to do a living bridge with the willow. So we had a raised bank on one side and a lower bank on the other. So we decided to plant in the lower bank, right? And it floods, which is not a problem for the willow, and that we would um, actually put it on both sides and do a stretch, right? So it'd be like a bridge, and the handles would be alive as well. And the beaver cut him down that first winter.
A beaver?
Beaver, yep.
That's pretty
They
funny.
just they just
Uh-huh.
down to
Well,
the ground. They were like, "Thank you so much for hauling these all the way down from the garden. I really appreciate it, and we'll just take those. Thank you." Yeah, it was fantastic. I love the beaver.
that's one nice thing about fun experiments is sometimes the ending is not what you expected.
But it was such a great idea. I mean, we were so there. It was so, but yeah,
Well,
no, we just,
next time what you can do is do 8 of them, and the beaver will take half, and you'll take the other half.
no, they would take them all.
They would?
It's,
Okay.
oh, it's the perfect food. It's fresh. It's out of the garden. It's been well watered. Like why wouldn't they take them all?
Okay,
They're
so that's where you get into the next question is what kind
uh,
of tree can you plant in that climate that would work for sculpting that a beaver doesn't think tastes good?
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, good question.
Well,
And
I love
then
the
what
idea of seeing, and it seems like you're in tune with this idea of, I mean, I see this whole forest as a living sculpture
right.
with the people who come through in it. And our job is to enhance the sculpture both for the big plants and the little plants, etc. So it sounds like we're in tune on that. It's a weird way to look at things, I guess.
Why?
Um, well,
What's
because
weird?
most people don't think about forests in that way. I mean,
Well, maybe
worldwide, I don't know
way,
if
but I
people
don't.
really understand the importance of forests. It's really forests and the ocean that are keeping us alive at all. So I
We
don't
have to
know.
take care of them. So we have to take care of them
Oh, that would
as
be
much
nice.
as we can, right?
Yeah. Well, good luck to us.
Yes.
All right. So another thing, I mean, you have other interests that you're interested in, and I looked at your profile and everything. Are there any other ones that come to mind you'd like to talk about, or shall I lead?
Well, I mean, part of my curiosity and interest, besides just the whole, like the larger organism of Bosque Village and the potential for that, like that to me is really exciting. But then also, I would say personally, the local sustainable food systems. And I know that you don't feel like you're 100% there already. And you're 99% farther than most of the farming experience that I've had, which is, uh, organic and good and not horrible, but it could be so much better. And local is big for me. So the um, food forest, as well as no irrigation other
Yeah.
than the nursery, that's very exciting. We don't have to talk about that more, but that's just my piece of
No,
the draw
I'll
I
just
have.
mention a little bit about that for anyone watching this. I think what you're referring to is the idea of not irrigating, not using outside fertilizer, and letting a lot of native plants grow, learning how to use the native plants so that we adjust ourselves and our needs to what's being provided by nature. And then going in and we plant very carefully some things we can add to that entire ecosystem, and then scrape a little bit off for the humans. Maybe partner with some animals like bees or chickens or rabbits. It depends. We also want to make sure we're not damaging other organisms. And so, even every decision we make about domestication matters, whether it's plant or animal. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's the short version of what I'm doing. I just stick that in there for anyone who doesn't know what you've already read or seen.
Context, larger context. Yes,
You got it.
thank you.
So I'm glad you like that. It is nuts. It's not economically profitable. It doesn't produce tons of food. It produces a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I've learned a lot. So I would love to share all the knowledge I have with you or anybody else who wants to plant anything anywhere. So, which gets us to another point, and I want to bring this up since we're on video right now, and who knows who will be watching this, is that we broadcast a lot of it. And so I have my face on a bunch of videos. You're about to have your face on this one. How does it feel, knowing that other people are going to see your thoughts, hear your thoughts? What do you think?
It's a little weird, Brian.
It is weird. Well, we know that. So how is it weird for you?
um, well, self censorship. I'm not very good at self censorship. And thinking, yeah. So on a lot of levels, it's weird. For me personally, I'm at the edge of cliff point, the in betwixt, in between, the do down this path, and then whoop, wow. I'm at that place, and so I'm having a lot of opportunity to push my boundaries in a really big way, and so like I mentioned archetypes earlier, coyotes having a lot of fun with me, ravens having a lot of fun with me. It's
Coyote and
yeah,
Raven.
yeah, you make plans, right? And then the universe has a giggle. right? You end up in often a much better place than you had planned, or I do, which is great. I'm so grateful. But yeah, so this is I have a business that I want to help support me in investigating this lifestyle further, deeper. It's one I'm really familiar with, um, and seeking a place to kind of commit to, right, long term. And so the video piece, knowing that that's a part of it, intimidation for me because I'm not coming on vacation. I'm coming to investigate roots, right? So yeah,
Right. So you feel like you're coming for something potentially deeper, not just for
great.
making a show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
for sure.
right. Well, we're starting
Yeah,
with the show, so here we go.
right.
It,
Exactly. It's literally.
it's interesting. Have you ever been in a play before?
Oh yeah,
What kind of play?
yeah. Um. Oh well, actually, you would know these places. I was on a play at Whidbey Island. Was it Whidbey Island or Bainbridge Island? I think it was Bainbridge Island at a local theater there. And so we take the ferry from downtown. I lived in West Seattle. Anyways, that was a lot of fun. That was a summer season, and I did various things like that. And then plays at school, community theater, young, quite young.
Yeah.
Like I was doing that in high school. Skits
Cool.
at camp, right? People, I talk to kids, they don't, there's no more skits. I grew up with skits being part of, like, that's what we did. You'd go to camp for a couple, few weeks, and you'd have skits at the end. And people don't know what they are. Anyways,
We should have skits here in Bosque Village.
yes,
I'm
yes,
mostly interested in reality. I'm mostly interested in
sure,
instruction. I'm mostly interested in people talking about issues that are important to them and their perception of it in the complex universe, etc.
right.
But
And,
sometimes it might be fun. There was a lady who came here from Kenya, or whatever it's called, in
uh-huh,
Africa. It's on the upper northwest part, no, upper northeast. And she, one night, it was after the sauna, I think, and we were all hanging out outside, and there was a fire. It was really nice. And she said, "Oh well, can I do this thing from Vagina Monologues?" It's
oh, yeah, 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 the vagina monologues.
right, and I thought, hey, whatever, do whatever you want. Sounds fun. And what I was surprised by, and everybody else there was surprised by completely, is
Mm-hmm.
she had apparently done this before somewhere. I don't know what her trip was. I didn't ask her how she got good at it, but oh my God, she was hilarious. She was so
Right.
funny. She was so smart and awesome, and she just did it all with this great expression. It was just like this perfect live theater outside, with a campfire under the
Yeah.
moon. I mean, and there was no camera recording that, unfortunately, I don't think, but whatever, I didn't care. It was so beautiful.
Right. Sometimes you gotta just let it go and have it be in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can talk all about the vagina monologues at another time, but it's a thing. It happens all over. Women do it in almost every city, every large city. And I've had friends that have done the monologues, and I've gone to many, many vagina monologues. They're great. Yeah. I'm curious which one she did, like which skit it was, because they're redone over and over and over.
Right. It was like 6 years ago, so I don't know. But anyway, I was just surprised because it was so awesome.
Yeah.
Live theater has its place, but of course, what we're doing is more difficult in some sense, which is being ourselves.
Well, but it can also, early on you said that, you wanted things to be educational, but live theater can also be educational as well,
Of course, yeah. And I just had a playwright through here, and we just did some interviews, and there's videos on that.
Yes,
And
I
we
saw.
talked about that. We talked about theater, and I've done some live theater.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not even close to against it. I'm very for it. But in general, I find fiction to be more shallow than reality. And so I want to make sure that our fiction is not just escapist bullshit. I want to make
Mhm.
sure our fiction is hardcore
Mhm.
or really fun or made by ourselves in the moment. I don't know. I mean, even improv, I mean, I'm not against any of it. So I come across as more hardcore than I really am, I think. I'm like,
Yeah,
dogmatic statement, this thing is
people don't
bad.
know because they'll see that there's more to it than that. So yeah, just keep if that's what you think thus far, just keep looking, keep watching.
What? I didn't hear that.
I'm talking to other people besides you right now, people watching, saying if all they're at is at that place of like, oh, this dude's fucking intense, just keep watching because there's more to it than that. It's just
Yeah, I figure it ends up being a mix of all the ideas after a while.
it's
It's
a
tricky.
beautiful armor you wear, Brian. It's beautiful and psychedelic and shiny and it's good. All right, next.
Next, there are coyotes here and there are ravens here, real ones. And I'm glad that those animals have an influence over your life because it is fun to be a trickster and it's fun to be tricked. We got to
Sometimes
play. The
not
coyotes
always.
don't come near the house. They used to come near the house when I first got here, but the dogs I have now scare them away. But you'll hear them
Yes,
every night. They're singing. They're beautiful.
yes.
The ravens are huge.
The
And
farm that I most recently worked at, the coyotes like to come and take sheep at night, or sometimes
oh,
during the day. But there was, yeah,
I don't
trickster.
think, well, I don't have sheep.
Right.
I would have
But
to
I
ask
bet
my
they,
neighbor. My neighbor has sheep, and I would have to ask him if the coyotes steal them, and maybe they do.
I bet they do. Yeah.
Well, you got to
And they
have
take
dogs.
your chickens would be gone if they weren't in their little pen.
Yeah, well, I've
I,
lost chickens, so.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
I've lost lots of animals.
all right. So we're now at 31 minutes on this first formal interview that we're doing to plan
Oh,
your
is that
stay here. When are you planning to come? I forgot.
December?
December.
Yes.
That's not now. That's different. There's Bosquevus, which is an event we have then. We talked about that at some point. The idea is Bosquevus goes from the 22nd, which is the solstice, winter solstice.
21st. Yep.
Yep, and maybe all the way towards almost the 8th of January, because if Reyes Magos and 12th night is the 6th, and I'm not going to go anywhere in that time anyway, I'll be around. Really, we're looking at 3 weeks of uh, winter fun period because it's dark nights, I guess, is the general motivation.
Fire.
Fire. Yes, there should be fire.
Fire like a Yule log. Uh, yeah.
We had a
Beverages.
Swedish, I think, no, wait, she was German, Swedish? I don't know. We had this woman here. She made a Yule log. It was really cool.
Uh-huh.
You do have to watch them so they don't create a fire hazard. With any fire, that's the case. We've also made
Right.
Swedish logs that are cut in a way that makes it like a vertical fire, campfire that burns
Oh,
down.
I've seen those. Yeah, those are
Right.
very cool.
We did our first experiments on those and they kind of worked,
Uh-huh.
but we need to do the second experiments, which are
Right.
carving a whole bunch of them, measuring them
Uh-huh.
exactly how far the cuts are open, how many there are, everything about it, and becoming experts on making a perfect vertical fire log, what they call a
So
Swedish
you get a
something.
template.
So it burns down at exactly the right comfortable level.
Right.
One New Year's evening, we had these. I was standing by one. So I'm standing like, a foot away from a fire
Mm-hmm.
that happens to be burning at this really comfortable level to provide
Right.
me and this dude I was talking with this nice comfortable light and warmth. It was kind of
Right.
like a
Right.
candle fireplace thing or something. It was cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
But we have to go to the next level and become experts.
Right, of course. So a template, right, that you can put over the top and just draw the lines, and then whoever's doing the cutting, it
Sure.
makes it really easy
Sure.
to
I don't
keep
even
it.
care what experiments we try. We could cut triangular ones. We could cut it just doesn't matter
Right.
to me. It's just wood. I have tons of trees. We could cut we could cut 40 of them and then video each one as it burns and figure out like this optimal
Right.
design. That's the level of experimentation that is
Vertical.
easy to do. We don't
Right.
even have to be smart to do that experiment.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, well some of them you do. So anyway, so you've read about the Bosque, you like the idea of the culture, you'll be coming in December, that means you come from Bosquevus. You may or may not want to be a resident because you don't really know the place, but we're looking into it. Your kid is now, you got a kid, right?
I have a kid.
How big's your kid?
He's 6'6". He's very big.
6'6".
He's a big kid.
Okay, so I'm
Yep.
short next to him.
No, yes, everybody is.
There you go.
Like really, everybody.
And
It's
wait, and how
nice.
old
Like
is he?
I find him in the crowd. He's never really lost ever now because he's big.
Wait, what do you say?
So
I
he's
missed it.
in a crowd. He's never lost. All I
Oh,
have to do is like get to a high point and look around, and I see his little, popped up, and there he is.
that's
Yeah,
great. You never
yeah.
want to lose your kid, although you're losing him because he's becoming an adult.
Well, yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Well, you're losing the kid. You're losing the kid. You're gaining the adult son.
Yes, the adult son is definitely emerging more and more every day.
Well,
Yes,
good luck to him. It's a tricky world, and your job's mostly done.
it's done pretty
Yeah,
much.
I mean
Well,
he make his own
uh,
decisions.
yeah, exactly. I might help him with some of those decisions after the fact if I'm asked, but yeah, they're his.
Well, hopefully you guys have had a relationship where he respects you greatly and will seek your wisdom.
Hopefully, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he will sometimes. But young men are also known to be especially
Thus
stupid.
far, my understanding is that he learns just about everything he needs to know on the internet.
Great.
Yep. Yeah. So he doesn't need me much anymore.
He'll still need you. There'll be tough times for him, and he'll need somebody to listen to him. So
Yes, it's true. Or
yeah.
they'll want, goods, treats, food. Yeah. I'm not mom. What the like brownie mom? Although I
Ah,
had a boy, and he didn't ever do Boy Scouts. But yeah.
well,
Yep.
cool. So now you're freed up somewhat, or you're almost freed up. Your baby's flying in the nest. You're
Yep.
wondering what your new nest is. You're wondering of what you're gonna do. That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw your Facebook profile, and I saw you went to many festivals, all kind of gatherings, music festivals. Anybody who's gonna say some happy hippie words, you're there.
Happy hippie words.
Happy
Yeah.
hippie words.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep. My tribe is very hippie festival going. It's
That's cool. I've
true.
been to some. I don't know if I'm a hippie or not personally. I don't know what a hippie is, but I definitely live
Um,
by my own rules, and I like plants. I don't know.
I think your role at both Burning Man and Country Fair would put you in hippie category, and I say that because I don't often put myself in that category, but other people do. So just back at you. I think you're there.
Yeah, I know. It depends on your definition. Um, I used to dress more colorfully. I don't know. I think there's a hippie dress code. There are
Uh
hippie
huh.
fascists out there. I'm not big into hippie fascists. But most people I would put in that category are pretty nice at heart, and
Uh
some of
huh.
them are even useful. So, um, but I definitely dress more boring than I used to. Oh well.
Uh huh.
I'll get some more colors pretty soon here.
I only, I dress pretty boring unless it's a festival, really. Like I have festival wear that gets worn like a week a year. I don't go to that many, right? I'm engaging and supporting other people's and posting things that I want other people to go to, but
Ah, okay.
I only do a couple. And now I'm in sales, right? So I want to do more smaller festivals because I'm comfortable with right now, besides Country Fair.
Yeah. So you're interested in coming here. I've already accepted your application. So now anybody watching this
Thank
video already knows that it's not a real interview. Uh, but it's an opportunity to meet somebody new. And
you.
for Bosque fans, they can meet her, and we can imagine projects for anyone coming here, that these projects are adjustable to what someone's interested in. There's enough
Hmm.
different things here going on that everybody's involved in the food, everybody's involved in the schedule, and hopefully they're involved in a self-creation process, and
Right.
they're a participant, not a spectator. And so that's why
Yep.
this conversation is happening. Uh, and this conversation could happen with anybody listening to this also, is what would your optimal role here in Bosque Village be? I mean, how are you going to benefit to the maximum and the Bosque benefits to the maximum? I would like to not have a bad time, and occasionally I like to have a good time. So everything should work out for everybody. Anyway, so back to you. That's my little
Well,
advertisement for Bosque
and
potential participants.
right. And if you want to go deeper with that, you could say that we've discussed the role that I would play as, and and because I'm looking at a larger potential, I guess, I'm choosing the role of house sitter. I think you have it listed on a couple different lists, and the potential for other people to do that as well, and how that would happen, but that you
Hmm.
need more than just one because you kind of already have neighborhoods
Yeah.
that need attention in times when people aren't around because buildings deteriorate when people are not living in them. That's part of
Right.
the
And so,
reality of life.
so yeah, specifically the housekeeper role is a wintertime thing when I have less things going on here, and it is good to have people in buildings. Um, I think for the vast majority of people, it would be frightening and difficult to live here alone. I do it. I'm here alone right now. The nearest person is about 3 kilometers that way, and if I broke my leg right now and my phone wasn't charged and if I had signal, I mean, there's various issues. You don't want to be here alone. So I want multiple house sitters, uh, friendly, nice people who are fairly mellow, and I have multiple cabanas and basically people not doing a lot of stuff at that time. That'd be January, February. So January after the 7th until mid-February, and then overlapping because people need to be trained to be here. So it takes a while. It's a weird place. So, so yeah,
Commercial over. What's that?
that's the house sitter role basically. And presumably those people would all be nice people and have a good time together.
Right. Yeah. And then there's those of us that sounds fantastic and, are comfortable living off grid and comfortable using the existing facilities as they are because,
Yeah,
yeah, because
cool.
I've done it.
Yeah, you have a lot more experience than I have with various communities, and I have
Hmm.
I have experience living in various communities, but I think you've moved around to more of them and seen more systems, especially more recently.
Hmm. Yeah, I would. Yeah, true.
Yeah, so in some other conversation, we could actually talk about each one of the systems that you've seen and
Hmm.
what you've learned from them. Because
Right.
I've hosted a lot of people who travel around visiting places, and I'm
Hmm.
slightly jealous in a good way. I'm jealous of their knowledge
Yeah.
because they have, I mean, I have my experiences, but I'm stable, I'm here. People come to me.
Yes.
And so going into a space, you can see, how does the energy system work? What's the economy like? What's the vibe like? What's the
Hmm.
people like? Why would you be there or not be there? I mean, all these
Right.
decisions matter in designing a community, which is essentially what I'm doing. So I need wisdom.
Right. And what's the long-term viability as well, which is always one of my key things when I look at various different community possibilities.
That is one of the things I look at every day in the mirror.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that'll be I have lots of thoughts on that. Yeah, it's for many years I've had thoughts that have grown and changed and
Cool. Well, we'll save that one for a longer conversation.
okay,
This is
sounds
our first public conversation. So, are there other topics that come to your mind that might be interesting for people watching,
I don't know.
from your
Uh,
perspective or mine, or uh, anything about Bosque Village or you? People are getting to know both on this video. So,
um, I don't know what would be interesting for other people.
all right. Well,
Like,
we'll wrap it up then.
yeah, that sounds good.
I like that. If you did join us on this video, thank you. This is Sherilyn, and you might be seeing her more videos. So, adios and good luck to you, and feel free to comment on anything we've talked about at all.
Or future topics you'd like to hear.
Future
discuss.
topics are good.